Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Tottenham Hotspur 4, West Ham United 1. Mohammed Kudus goal, Mohammed Kudus red card. The fan base descends into despair once again. Though it's a different type of despair than the one we saw at the end of last season, because this time it appears like 100% of the fan base doesn't like what it's seeing rather than just half of it. I am back, me Will Pugh, joined by James Jones once again. He's dragged me out of bed on a Sunday morning to do the We Are West Ham podcast. I was there in the away end. I didn't really have any hope before the game. Any of you listened to mine and James's podcast last week, or the opposition view I did with Ricky Sachs from Last Word on Spurs at the end of last week. Actually, again, I sort of said I expect us to get a slapping. The weaknesses I've seen in our team all season, I thought against Tottenham, at Tottenham, they were likely to get exposed. The only surprise to me really was that we scored at all, let alone that we went 1-0 up. Period of the game I enjoyed very much indeed. And even when they got their equaliser, you felt 1-1 at half-time wasn't terrible. I still did feel that what happened in the second half was almost inevitable. But even I, with my slightly gloomier glasses on this season, didn't expect that. It's not good whatsoever. But I am delighted to say that James Jones, as I think the We Are West Ham podcast provided last season, is here to provide perhaps the other side of the argument, whereas that was probably my role on the podcast last season, that I don't think it's that bad under David Moyes at all. James Jones appears to be playing that role. I don't think it's a role. I think he actually believes it. And I certainly saw a bit more of that again from you, Jonesy, on Twitter yesterday. How's it going? That wasn't very good.
Result aside, it's going well. It wasn't very good, and I was very clear about that in our little exchange on Twitter yesterday.
Well, weren't even mine, to be fair. Someone just randomly...
It was a listener who dug me out, and then you dug me out.
I thought he was digging me out first, so I thought he thought I'd said it.
I saw his
original
like, comment about positive signs or something like that.
Yeah, I can't wait for that to be not a bad performance.
Yeah, or something like that. And then you and he didn't even tag me in it. You tagged me in it. You
exactly, yeah.
You invited the pile on a little bit.
No, because I thought he thought. So this was a tweet we had straight off the game yesterday that I got it, which just said, "I can't wait for that to be, in quotes, not a bad performance." Obviously, me and James went backwards and forwards after the Chelsea game, where James thought he could see some positive signs and that it wasn't that bad of a performance. I was baffled by that. So someone tagged me in saying that on Twitter, Jonesy, but I thought he'd got confused and thought I'd said it. So I felt I had no option other than to be like, no, by the way, I've thought most performances this season are really bad, but it appeared he did know it was you.
Yeah, fair enough. But anyway, like, I agree. It was... I thought the first half was good. You said the first half was... I think going in at 1-1, I thought the first half went how I half expected it to go, in that we would be camping out on the edge of our box for much of the time and be relying on counter-attacks, given Spurs' high line and all the rest of it. And that we would get one or two chances, and we did, and we converted one. Probably should have converted the first one from Kudus. Good save from Vicario.
Oh, big time. He's got to score that, yeah.
I mean, in real time, it looked like a really good save, but then when you see the replays, it is very central to Vicario. If he hits it a couple of feet further to the right, it's a top corner. But it went exactly how I thought it would go. And then the second half, 2-1, you go, oh, okay, but, you know, we will get one or two more chances if the first half's anything to go by. And then it all just falls apart, as we know. We'll go into it later, but it wasn't good in the second half. And then the Kudus red card kind of summed it all up, really. And by that stage, I'm watching it on my sofa, and I'm egging everyone on to start punching Tottenham players. I'm going, go on, now, just carry on, crack on, take as many out as you can.
Have a big old collapse.
Yeah, why not? So yeah, it wasn't great. But at the same time, not entirely unexpected. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people throwing their toys out the pram again.
Yeah.
And this time it's like we've just been battered by a Tottenham side that had loads of the ball and are very good at what they do. Yes, they tend to be a little bit more rubbish in second halves, and instead we allowed them to get back in it the second half, and that was probably our opportunity to exploit that.
And Ange Postecoglou called their second half performance outstanding.
Yeah, and they were good. They weren't outstanding. I think that was probably
they
pushing
weren't.
it a
That's
little
what's
bit.
annoying.
They were good at times. They wasted a few chances, but I don't know. I just think we lost to a side that we just were never going to be able to handle defensively. It was just like you look at the pace they have up front and the danger men that they've got, and then you look at our defence, which has been complete like shambolic at stages.
But it is the midfield, isn't it?
It is the midfield. But then when you look at Son, you look at Brennan Johnson, who's in great form, and you look at Kulusevski, and then you look at our defence and just go, right, well, we're lucky it weren't only 4.
As in our defensive performances, because I don't really think our defenders are particularly the problem. Do you know what I mean? Todibo and Kilman, I think, are good.
I expect it went the way I expected it to go, just probably in a slightly different manner. I don't think I expected us to concede 4, but at the same time, the game kind of the full-time whistle. I was like, well, that was probably what I wasn't expecting us to win. I would have taken a point to kick off. It's just that second half just made it feel a lot worse than probably what we were expecting it to be. But
yeah, I think sadly, that's the thing. And, that's what I was saying before. That is exactly what I was expecting, and that isn't just. I think there's an element of people thinking I'm just doing it to be like facetious, really. But I genuinely not, and that's why I said the same thing last season. I talk from a position of what I can see football-wise on the pitch. But look, James, we got some really good reaction, right? You know what the only annoying thing is? I was in the away end at Tottenham. Brilliant when we scored, like absolutely brilliant. Good atmosphere afterwards. Absolutely belting out 1-0 to the Cockney boys. Explains why my voice has probably gone a little... Excuse me, why my voice has gone a little bit croaky. Yeah, it was brilliant. And obviously, when the collapse in the second half happened, I was like, because of Lanzini gate, you don't want to leave too early. But I think I got to about 82 minutes, I think. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I know what Tottenham's like to get out of. I'm going. So I missed the Kudus scrap as well. I didn't even get to see Kudus slap and headbutt a Tottenham player.
Just on that, obviously you wouldn't have seen this, and anyone in the ground wouldn't have seen this. But on TV, the commentators made a massive thing about the West Ham fans leaving early. It was every 2 minutes the camera would cut to the away end, getting sort of emptier and emptier.
Yeah.
Is it what's his name? Fletch and Annie McCoist on commentary.
BT or TNT,
it was TNT. Yeah,
Darren Fletcher.
Yeah, they were both. Darren Fletcher mainly was just going, oh look, all the West Ham fans are leaving. Yeah, and it's like every 2 minutes, it would they'd cut back to the away end and go, oh, there's more of left. There's a big empty patch there, and it was like, guys, what do you expect?
Yeah,
they've rocked up there, but this started probably in the 80th minute onwards. For the last 10 minutes, it was one of the biggest talking points that they had. And and it was like, guys, what do you expect? We're 4-1 down in a London derby against the team that we despise the most in London. Give or take Arsenal, and they've just witnessed a 45 minutes like that. Most of them have stayed just long enough to see Mo Kudus get sent off. What do you want them to do? Sit there and continue watching it? Like, come on, like maybe just cut to it and go, all the West Ham fans are leaving, and then just forget about it. Like, go, oh yeah, well, I'm not surprised really, but they just kept going back, and it made me go angrier and angrier and angrier. And I was like, just shut up. It almost made me walk down a pub and break my 50-day challenge for not drinking.
Sobriety thing, yeah.
And I was like, I've got to have a beer. This is doing my head in. I just want to get that one in there.
Yeah, fair enough. To be honest, like I say, I've been on the podcast this season, haven't I? Moaning about, well, not, yeah, well, I suppose moaning, just generally, talking about, I feel a bit upset or whatever, or sad, or I don't know, melancholy, I guess is probably the right word for what the London Stadium's turned into now, where people just rock up 15 minutes late and they're out 10 minutes before half time, like loads of people, not one or two. And the ground's half empty before the end of the game now, regardless of results, because people value getting out into the pubs or onto the train quicker than they do, showing the players their appreciation or whatever, unlike what used to be like Upton Park. But I've always caveated that with, I think, unless we're getting absolutely slapped, then fair enough. Like, I don't, no one deserved a clap, really. Do you know what I mean? No, not everyone, to be fair. A couple of bright sparks in there. Jared Bowen, good again. Tom Suchek have all worked hard, but there was no one, and Tottenham's minging to get out of as well. Like, really, really minging. And I thought, there's no way. Like, and I thought 82, I thought was a fairly good haul. That's when I think that's about when Lanzini scored his first one. I think in the great I don't know if it was Lanzini who got the first one, but we scored the first one.
Balbuena header.
Balbuena, header, yeah. So I was like, well, yeah, we're not going to do that again. Well, if we are, I'm going to wait until that time. And I was like, nah, absolutely had enough. And then I heard about the Kudus on the way to the station. Right, James, we're just going to play out. We got some absolutely brilliant social reaction after the game yesterday. And I want to read out loads of that before we do our breakdown of the game. Because it's not a lot to break down really. But this is what you're going to hear first is a post-match reaction video that I shot as I was walking home from the ground yesterday, or as I was walking out the ground yesterday. So you're going to hear that first, and then we'll get through loads of the social reaction we had from you guys in response to that, and also BB27 it was who I delighted in seeing him digging out James Jones. This is me after the Tottenham game yesterday.
All right, everyone. I don't really know what to say after that. I'm nearly home already, which probably tells you how swiftly I left the away end. Brilliant first half, really good, but that's exactly what I've been talking about the last few weeks. Is it's all very well beating Ipswich, but we're going to beat Ipswich. We've got good enough players to beat Ipswich, but when we come up against teams who are sort of what we would have deemed the last few years our level, we're just like, we're nowhere near it. That second half is embarrassing. And I've sort of can't really be bothered to hear people tell me to give Lopetegui time still. I'm not saying there's a better option out there, but I think we've got ourselves in this mess. We're sort of absolutely determined to have something better before. And I don't want to keep harking back because I know that's annoying, but it's rubbish today. I mean, Mohammed Kudus, great, right? Best of a, I don't want to say bad bunch because we were good for 45 minutes, but there's a couple of opportunities here. His decision making isn't great. Obviously he scores, should have scored before he got his goal. Does an amazing world-class run, but hasn't got the presence of mind to lay the simple pass off down the right-hand channel. Areola, really uncharacteristic. Obviously we all really rate him. He pulls off a world-class save early in the game in the first half. And then a bit of a shambles beyond that, really. I don't know what to say. I just can't see it getting better. I'm open to alternative positive reviews, or give me some reasons to be positive if you can, if you're one of those still holding on to hope. But that's season over already, and like I was saying, it sort of feels back to West Ham of the old days, where the only thing we've got to look forward to in the season with no European football is the games against Tottenham. And if we carry on like we are, i.e. with Lopetegui trying whatever he's trying and persisting with, Guido Rodriguez again couple of slide tackles and decent headers, but beyond that, it's nowhere near good enough. The Wan-Bissaka experiment, don't know what that is. Give me Kufau any day of the week. Yeah, if we carry on like that, even our sort of the most exciting things we've got to look forward to this season, aka games against Tottenham, we're going to be nowhere near. Nor are we against any other of the big sides like we were the last few seasons. So yeah, I wanted to be proved wrong. I wanted you all to get in my face and tell me I was an idiot, and look how wrong I was, saying that the promised new dawn wasn't quite going to be as exciting as some people were making out. But yeah, feels like I was right after all. Tell me in the replies 3 positives, 3 negatives from the game, or if you can find any positives. Give me something to be cheerful about and chat about on the podcast with Jonesy, of course. We move. Come on, you Irons.
Right, there we go, James. I'll tell you what, look, we got loads of reaction to that on social media. I want to get your reaction first, right? So B27 it was who tweeted us. I think that was that's his username, but he tweeted us like the one we were talking about earlier. Just saying, I suppose that's not going to be a bad performance, right? So you went backward and forward with him at big_B27, one of our, I believe, American listeners. Just what's your reaction to that? What was your reaction to that video that I posted yesterday after the game?
Well, first of all, you invited me to be a collaborator, which I swiftly rejected.
Don't know what that means, but I just saw it, so I was like, I'll invite James.
Yeah, it just means that it goes on my account as well, and it basically sits on my grid.
Oh, right. Is that what it means?
Yeah, so you can tag people, or you can ask people to be a collaborator. So if we both were in that video,
yeah,
it would basically, we could be, I could have been a collaborator, and then it would be on both of our grids.
Right. Well, so I've learned a new social media skill. I'm
not having your mug moaning about West Ham on my grid. Thank you very much.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, my reaction was that I understand the frustration. I'm still of the mind that it's too early to sack him. In that Twitter exchange, I think my first response was, where was this energy when we were getting battered by Fulham and Palace last season? And I stand by that in some respect, because, you know, towards the end of last year, everyone was going, oh, well, you know, like we did have a good start to the season. So, you know, he's got, and it's like, wait, like, I thought, you know, you said it last year. You said it. The game was a 38-game season. So why, after 8 games, are we now calling for the manager to be sacked? Okay, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great in large parts. But if you look at the only games that we've lost are against teams that are currently finished in the top 6 last year and are currently in the top 6 this year. So it's not like we've lost to Ipswich, Brentford, Fulham, and my thought.
We were terrible against Brentford and Fulham, to be fair.
Yeah, but I thought about this yesterday. I was like, let's just say we beat Chelsea, we beat Tottenham, we beat Man City, and we beat Villa, but we lost the other games. Would fans be like, oh no, yeah, like this is fine, or would they still be up in arms?
But it's not just that you've said this. I mean, we're literally swapping places, surely, because you were telling me last season it's not just about the results. And the difference is last season, I was there going, well, yeah, but I know that this sort of system or whatever works because we've seen it work. It might not be to everyone's taste, right? And I'm not saying that, but I've seen it work, and we've seen Moyes bounce back from difficult periods. And like I say, it might not be to everyone's taste, which I obviously wasn't, but I've seen it work, and you knew what the system was. We'd seen it and experienced some of the best nights of our lives as a result of the system when it had got results on a consistent basis. And when I was saying what you're saying then about it's a 38-game season, I was probably saying that in January when we just had our best season of all time. Our best start to a Premier League season of all time, points wise. And then when we were losing a few games, then it's like, it's easy to say that then, but the problem is now, what on earth, there's nothing to get excited about. Like the results are they're fairly bad anyway, but I do take your point on that. And I think that narrative actually runs, like the results wise, just against those teams is fair enough. But the problem is we were lucky to get the point against Fulham. Ipswich are a championship side with one Premier League quality player, which is the striker. And Calvin Phillips, he felt obviously obliged to pay us back some of the money that we'd paid him. That's the most involved he'd been in a West Ham attack, and he had an Ipswich shirt on. They're a championship level team, so there are going to be games this season. We'll play Southampton, we'll maybe play Wolves, probably Leicester, where we just win just on the strength of, well, we are better than them in almost every area of the pitch, therefore we're going to win the game. But that's all, like, there's nothing to go on. There's nothing to just get excited about and go, oh yeah. Like, it was so obvious yesterday, like the Tottenham game, what the result was going to be. And I think the problem I had, right, and BB replied when you said, where was this energy last season? He said, my guess is the same place that your patience was with Moyes. And then you said, don't recall there being anywhere near the same kind of negativity or anger after those results as we're seeing after losing to Villa, City, Chelsea, Liverpool and Spurs. I mean, you're absolutely, like, you could not have been serious then. And BB says himself, what about the Moyes out banner on match week 25 when we were sat in 9th? Like, you can't rewrite history and pretend that it wasn't a horrendously toxic, like, negative environment last season. Like, you can't do that.
No, it was toxic last year. My point is that, after those games, particularly the Fulham game and the Palace game, they're the two that really stand out. I don't recall there being an immediate response after those two games in comparison to being battered by the likes of Tottenham or Liverpool or Chelsea.
Everyone was screaming for him to go.
Yes, there was toxic. It was toxic, but I'm talking about the immediate. I mean, probably last year is probably is a little bit of an outlier in that everyone wanted him to go anyway. Probably even before.
Not everyone, but yeah,
there was a lot of people that said, even I was like, he should probably go now. He's just won a trophy, just to avoid it going a little bit stale. Not that I wanted him to go at that point, but I was kind of looking ahead a little bit into the future. But essentially, the crux of my argument is that the guys had 8 games in charge, 10 if you include the 2 cup games. In what we all already knew was going to be a transitional season. We knew it was going to be. We brought the guy in to change the style of play. We brought 9 new players into the team. We got rid of a load. Brand new club captain, who's never been a captain before. So much change, new coaching staff, you name it, there's been change. A whole new back 4, essentially, or at least 3 of the 4. I think after 10 games, it was never going to be perfect after 10 games.
No,
yes,
but that's
but yes, it hasn't. Yes, I agree. It hasn't been as good as some of us would have liked to have been. And there are question marks. There are question marks over the style, question marks over the midfield. But I still stand by the fact that after 10 games, I think it's way too. It's still early. Still too early to be like, nah, he's got to go. He's got to go. Sack him.
Do you think it's going to come good then?
I'm not saying I think it will come good. I think we still need to give it an opportunity to see whether it will or not. I think making a judgment after 10 games is for me still premature.
10 games is 25% of a season, though. Like, it's not an insignificant amount of time, is it? And I think
I'm also factoring into those 10 games the teams that we played in those 10 games. those 10 games. The 5 games
Yeah,
you've
I
lost in those 10
understand that.
games against 5 of the top 6.
Yeah.
Or four of the top 6 plus Villa who are in the Champions League this year.
Yeah. Who
So
were the top 6 last season, yeah.
yeah, and off currently 4th at the moment. So I'm also factoring in that and going, okay, had we not played any of those teams, and you swap them out and put in a load of other teams, and we're still sitting here on what was it, 8 points, and we're out of the cup already. Then you go, oh well, hang on, no, this is worrying because we've still got to play those teams, those big teams. We haven't played them yet. And
we did beat Arsenal and Tottenham away last season.
We did, but we also lost to Fulham and Palace away last season, and we picked up points in both of those games. So, and if you say like
if you take the 4 games, we were better off from them 4 last season.
Yeah, no, I agree that you go, okay, well, if we're going to do the comparison to last year, I agree on that point. But I'm looking at it from just 10 games when you've played 5 of the top 6, and I'm sitting there going, no, like it's way too early to be going. It's never going to work under him. It's never going to work. I think
there's nothing positive to see there, mate.
Like,
there's nothing positive to go, oh, look, this thing he's trying there, I can see what he's coming up, what he's having to go at with that. And X player hasn't quite got it yet, or X player, like once he gets a bit more used to that, then that will work. I can see what he's trying to do. That's been close to working a couple of times and it hasn't. It's like all of the changes you mentioned there are sort of on the back of reactionary stuff, right? From like there is I don't know how to word this, but like of fans who decided they value style of play, right? And this is exactly the sort of thing that was getting on my nerves last season. There was no acknowledgement whatsoever, like from loads of the vocal, the ones screaming for our greatest manager of the modern era to go. There was no acknowledgement whatsoever that it could get worse. It was I'll only get better than this, because anyone but Moyes, the amount of people we saw tweeting that and saying that, anyone but Moyes. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, do you remember all this? And someone, Woodstock Irons, right? Regular listener to the pod, interact with him whenever he gets in touch with social media. He says, the old days, a few seasons ago, we were, because the reaction to my video, the old days, ? A few days ago, a few seasons ago, we were in a bad situation too. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's worse. Let's not forget that. Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying the whole time. When people were screaming that Moyes was the worst manager and worst thing they'd ever seen, it was, like, get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I just think it's like, that's what I was saying the whole time. It can get worse than this as well as get better. Let me just read through another few replies we had, mate. So I want to get through some of these. Right. Joe Connell, get rid of him now, mate. It's not going to work. I think the board will wait until at least Christmas either way. And then I've asked a lot of people who were saying get rid of him. Who would you have instead then? Genuinely not sure. Maybe Potter. Lots of people saying Potter. I just want to say now, like, that might be a nice idea, but I think you're overestimating the pull of West Ham with Graham Potter. Graham Potter, rightly or wrongly, thinks no. I'm not saying that. Graham Potter thinks he's too big for West Ham. That's what I'm saying. He's gone from Brighton, did a good job there, manages Chelsea now. Like, it's been chatted about for the England job. If United becomes available, he'll be in the running for that. Like, Graham Potter's not going to West Ham now. Graham Potter's got another job in him bigger than West Ham. And then if that doesn't go as well, that's when he's perhaps in now. Yeah, exactly. Mate, I think Brighton made him look a better manager than he is, which is why I think he'll get one more payday from somewhere big. And then perhaps the myth is dispelled. And then it's like, oh, actually, you're not actually that good of a manager. You were just working under a really good system. And let me read through a few more of these, James. Get your reaction afterwards. I asked for 3 positives, 3 negatives. Lots of people struggling for any positives. Hammers Who's that? Hammers Chat Nick says positives is that Potter is available. What else we got in here? Hang on, James, give us 2 seconds. Matt Cleavey got nothing positive to add. Can't find any positives. I think it's absolutely unforgivable, regardless if you're a new manager or not, that after an international break, when you've had the majority of the squad training, how the hell can you set up against a team that literally my gran knows are an attacking team and expect anything different than a spanking? We were all right for 45 minutes, but we were literally cut open so easily, as we have been loads of times this season. And while I don't think anyone played particularly well, the manager has to take responsibility here. The system just doesn't work. We saw it against Chelsea too, with this many games in, and I still couldn't tell you why our tactics and game plan is, other than smash it to Kudus and hope for the best. Absolutely farcical. What else we got here? Mike, WHUFC, Penny. Paqueta's a massive liability, and Kilman doesn't defend. He just retreats. Poor man's Matthew Upson. No idea why you'd want Kufal back in the team. That was a reaction to what I said. His distribution is just smashing it aimlessly, long balls to nobody. Wan-Bissaka urinates all over him. I'm not so sure about that, Mike. Mulligan's Irons. I'll say it again, too early to sack the manager, but the effort and concentration need to improve. We need to see the boys understanding the plan. Yeah, what is the plan? Mulligan's Irons. And moving in a direction positively. At the moment, I don't see the end game that Lopetegui is walking towards. Also, Antonio cannot start for us. Not Antonio's fault. Who we got here? Rough seas ahead, someone says. You have to reach rock bottom to go forward. I'm not convinced that is rock bottom, though, from the crappy Mexican. But I don't know how much worse it can get. Fresher floors. I think you're right, Will. We need Kufal back in, probably for Areola, though. Because he was dog poo. Not just because of his paper wrists, but the fact he can't hit a long ball anywhere near a claret blue shirt. That said, Andy Madley should never referee one of our games again. Was it Andy Madley? Yeah, gave us a yellow card for the exact same push on Paqueta that led to their goal. Yeah, I mean, go on, James. Would pick any of those catch your fancy particularly?
Well, I just want to say, and before you start reading those out, and we were sort of discussing kind of like what the style was, or what, and I know some of those comments kind of lead to or allude to the fact that no one can see a style. I would like. I started listening to Jack Elderton, former guest on this show.
Yeah.
Very, 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 very good. He's got his own podcast, the West Ham Breakdown.
Analytics United, I think that is.
It's called the West Ham Breakdown.
Sorry.
I think his website is Analytics United, but the West Ham version of it. I actually
big merger.
But I actually followed it for the first time, listened to it for the first time last week or the week before. After the Ipswich game, and there's a lot of insight in there into these guys talk tactics better than I can speak English, to be fair. So
he's very good, Jack.
So I was like, I really want to listen to see what they're seeing, and you know, there was a lot of talk about fullbacks and the way that actually the way that we're trying to play. Fulkirk is an ideal striker, but obviously he's injured. And how good Souček's been and how good the centre backs are for the style. So I would go back and for anyone still wondering, these guys have seen something that I or a lot of many other fans won't have seen. And essentially they're saying he's trying, basically what he's trying to do. And I'm not going to try and go into use all the terminology. But essentially the crux is that he's trying to do what he did at Sevilla, but without the same profile of player. Essentially,
right,
with a lot of involvement with the fullbacks, and there's a little bit of confusion on the podcast as to why we bought Wan-Bissaka, given he doesn't fit that profile.
Yeah, definitely, mate.
Same profile as Jesus Navas, who was prolific as a wing back in Lopetegui's Sevilla team, like 20 assists in a season.
That is not Wan-Bissaka, is it?
So but like if you listen to it, and I'm going to listen to it every week now, just so I can get a grasp on things a little bit better than I do at the moment. On that, just wanted to mention that and give Jack a little bit of love in his podcast a little bit of love because it's great. It's really, really good. For the rest of it, I do agree with your earlier comments about Potter. I don't think there is anyone other than Potter that would be an attractive option at this moment in time. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter complain that the only reason why we went for Lopetegui is because he was available and free and wouldn't cost David Sullivan a couple of quid to prize him away from wherever they are.
I just think that's an easy thing to say.
I think for me that's a cheap shot. That's just a chance for a cheap shot at David Sullivan.
Yeah, definitely. Like he spent loads of money this summer, and the
guys just forked out 150 million quid on new players.
Exactly.
So to say that he's tight and won't pay for a new manager, I think it's just a chance to have another dig at him for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stand by what I said earlier. I understand the frustration. I understand why people are a little bit upset, but I still think it's too early to say that it's time to sack him, and it definitely won't get better. Yes,
you're not going to commit to saying you think it will come good, though, are you? Like, it's all very well saying it, but you don't think it'll like. You must think it will come good then, because otherwise you would say, yeah, it's not going to work. Get rid of him.
Depends what you mean by good. Like,
what do you think I mean, mate? What have we had the last few seasons?
What? So you
European football back at West Ham United again. That's like the minimum. Conference League, I don't care what.
I'm not ruling that out. I'm not ruling that out.
No, but you're not saying that you think it's going to happen either.
No, I'm not, because it could go either way. Like, it could go with any manager that we bring in. We could sack.
No, but you can't just say that. Like there are things that suggest it's going to go one way or the other. And with Lopetegui at the moment, for most fans with two eyes in their head, they think it's going to go the bad way. So I'm just asking. You must think it's going to go the other way then.
There are so many managers out there that have had tough starts to their managerial. I mean,
please don't say the two I think you're going to say. Please don't.
Manager had a terrible start at Bournemouth.
All right, I'll give you that one. That's a very good example.
Look at the strength. They finished on form last year.
Yeah.
The second half of the season they were very, very good. Finished 11th, I think. And are now doing pretty well today. Just beating Arsenal. Fantastic, by the way. Loved watching that. Loved every single second of it. Made my Saturday a lot better after the result in the afternoon. So that there's an example. If you just be patient a little bit, things might come good. And that's a team that could have gone down last year and ended up turning it around. And a lot of people at Christmas were questioning whether he was the right man for that job.
Yeah, I will give you that. It's an excellent example.
So, yes, okay, it's not good at the moment, and I can see why people are going, "Oh, it's never going to improve after 10 games. That's it. I've seen enough. We need to get someone else in." So what happens? You get rid of him today. You bring in Graham Potter tomorrow, which everyone seems is the manager that everyone seems to want.
Yeah, that's a no.
And then suddenly you now teaching the players a brand new style of play, with players that Graham Potter hasn't bought in himself. And then he basically started from scratch again. And then what? And we're going to give him how many games are we going to give Graham Potter before we then want him sacked? Because Graham Potter coming in doesn't mean to say he's going to start winning 5 or 6 on a trot and get us out of trouble.
Yeah, I don't think he's the answer.
That's why I'm sitting there. It doesn't have to be Graham Potter. It could be any manager. You could bring Jose Mourinho in. He's not going to start going winning 8 or 9 on the trot and start taking us into the top 6.
I don't know. I think he would.
So
I'd love actually Jose. That's the one. Yeah,
no. Jose Mourinho would be funny, but at the same time, it's the exact same style of football that everyone hated under David Moyes. He's a very
not right. Stop saying everyone. That's very deliberate micro erosions.
It would be
a loud minority.
I'm not having the calls for him to be sacked after 10 games when, okay, fans get their way, he gets sacked, they bring in another manager. How many games is that new manager going to get? And then we're going to be in this vicious cycle of sacking managers just because they've only won 3 of their first 10 games in charge. And then he's got to go because the other manager only got 3 wins. So if we're going to do it like that, then he's got to go as well.
But it isn't just about the results, is it? Like you should be able to see something in the performances.
Yes, and okay, we haven't seen a great deal. But I'm not going to stand there and go, I don't think we'll ever see anything. I don't think there'll ever be an improvement and he's got to go. I think that we still need to be, I'm willing to be patient and give a little bit more time to see whether it does. And also, I don't buy into the whole international break thing. Yes, he had Joe Bowen this time around, which I thought would be a bit of a benefit. But to say we had most of his first team players, that's incorrect. Kudus wasn't there. Paqueta wasn't there.
Mavropanos wasn't. I don't
Mavropanos wasn't
think.
there.
Would the Czech boys
Antonio
there?
wasn't there.
They would have gone.
The Czech
wouldn't they?
boys weren't there.
Yeah.
Edson Alvarez wasn't there. So to say,
Areola, did he still go with France?
I think he was. Yeah, I think he went there. Pointless in bothering. But yeah, I don't know. I think 10 games is too soon to start throwing toys out the pram. I understand why people are doing that, but at the same time, I'm saying, okay, I'm not saying it's going to get great, and Lopetegui is definitely the right man to do it and to take us to where we were before under Moyes. But I'm also not saying that we've seen enough to suggest that it won't go there. I'm just saying, look, give it a little bit more time to see what he can do. I think 10 games is way too soon.
Doesn't sound like you're saying anything, Jonesy, to be quite honest, mate.
What I'm saying is don't sack him. I don't think it's the right time to sack him. But
there we go.
I just don't think it's the right time. I understand the frustration with the results. It hasn't been good. But we've also only lost to those big teams. And we just need to give him a little bit more time. Be a little bit more patient, boys. Chill out.
Yeah. I mean, the all I will say is it's not like we've been anywhere near. It's not like we've been close, and we've been. If we lose by a last minute goal against Chelsea, Tottenham, or City, or whatever, as we have done in seasons past.
We did to Villa. We lost to a last minute goal to Villa.
Say that again.
86th minute, I think it was. So it was a late goal.
Yeah, but they were 79, so
they're still relatively late.
15 minutes of the game left, but they literally hit the post from an open goal. That could have been 4-1 to them. That's where the problem is. We're not even close. Like, if we lose by the odd last minute goal, or someone gets a last minute equaliser in all those games, and you go, we were really unlucky then. We've been absolutely turned over in all of them. And we were the ones relying on a lucky last minute equaliser at Fulham. The only game other than Ipswich, I would argue, that we sort of fully warranted maybe more than what we got was Brentford away. They scored early, and then we were dominant the rest of the game. Palace was
I got criticised for being frustrated with the fact that we were relying on last minute goals to get points. Was it last year or the year before? Last year, where Souček was popping up in the 88th minute of every game for like 4 games running and getting his points. And I'm like, guys, we can't. This is unsustainable. We can't. Like, it's good. We're getting the results, but at the same time, we've not been good enough to get results out of these games. And I got told, no. Well, at least we're winning. Well, at least we're getting the results. And I'm like,
but you're better off doing it that way. I agree that it's not sustainable forever, but you're better off doing that than being well out the game. At least you're in a position that you must have done some good things
You just said, we had to rely on a last minute goal against Fulham and we didn't deserve anything. It's like,
but at least we're in that position.
You're using that as a negative to this season.
Yeah, because if you listen, the reason I'm saying, we needed a last minute goal against Fulham, and the reason that's bad, because that means Fulham was still in the game right up to the end of the game. So when it's the other way round, that's why people are annoyed when we need a last minute winner against Burnley, because we're from Souček.
You weren't annoyed. You weren't annoyed. You were buzzing.
Oh, I was buzzing. I'm saying I'm replying to what you said about
that, and you were like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, no, I was buzzing because we won a game of football, and to be in a position, the reason people are annoyed then is because it's like Burnley shouldn't still be in a game 85 minutes into the game, right? We should have put them to the sword. That's what the argument is. And I'm saying the flip side of this is last season, we have been comprehensively put to the sword by Tottenham, Chelsea, and Manchester City this season. And to be fair, by Villa. No one was going, God, they didn't deserve that. Well, lucky. Well, loads of people were going, yeah, that's real sign of improvement because we only lost 2-1 to Aston Villa. Could have been thrashed. We're not even in positions other than Fulham, are we, to get these in games we won last season. I'm saying it's if we got done by last minute goal at Tottenham, you go, fair enough. Look, we're in the game for 90 minutes. We weren't. We're in the game for 45. If we get done by a last minute goal against City, you go, fair enough. We're in the game right to the death. And it's like, no chance of getting any of that. That is the point. Listen, we've got to wrap this up soon. Just react to this one then, James. I don't really need to go into the game, do we, to be honest? I mean, perhaps we should have done, but Ryan Cushway, same old, concede far too many goals and too many soft goals, but yet people still want a new striker every transfer window. We're not going to win many games conceding an average of 2 goals per game. but apparently, according to some fans, Antonio is still the problem. Lewis Paget, we are absolutely shit. So easy to play against. No midfield. What do you make of what Ryan said there, James? I mean, I still think, I say, we've tried to replace Antonio for 5 years now. I thought he was sort of, again, I thought he was actually okay. I thought he did pretty well until the standard hour mark when he's absolutely burnt out. And then our only sort of response to that is put Bowen up front and take him off because of the Fulkrug thing. Obviously, we still don't really know, and I do think Fulkrug and his absence is one of those things where you go, yeah, you got to sort of feel a bit sorry for Lopetegui there. But we've got 135 grand a week in wages tied up in Danny Ings, and which one of the worst transfers in West Ham's history. And if you add that sort of money will buy you a decent centre forward. I think Fulkrug's on a smidge more than that. Antonio won't be anywhere near that sort of money. Do you know what I mean? Like, well, he isn't. I know that. I'm like, the centre forward thing is still a problem, but Ryan's right there where it's the at the back that's the issue, isn't it? But I don't even think it's the defenders. Well, I can't remember who it was. Mike Penny said earlier on about Kilman, I think it was, and he's always retreating. I just don't think, other than Wan-Bissaka, that any of the defenders are the problem. I think Todibo looks really good. Kilman's like good. I think I was sort of impressed with him. I think it's that midfield, and it's the Rodriguez factor. He got a couple of big slide tackles in at the weekend. Someone had obviously told him that it's a massive derby. He won a few good headers, but again, he's just lightweight. He's lightweight, not good enough. And Lucas Paqueta, he's getting a lot of grief this season, isn't he? Giving the ball away a lot. You know, he's just sort of not the same as he was. I think there's problems there.
The old Antonio Fulkrug thing. I mean, there's been a lot of debate about, you know, whether Fulkrug was the right guy. Obviously, had the chance to buy John Duran off Villa.
That's heart-wrenching.
Deemed him too expensive, went for Fulkrug instead. Like, that's a separate argument. I think no one, even when you go and buy Fulkrug, you don't then expect him to get injured on international duty and then be out for 2 months. Like, it's just one of those things.
If you're West Ham, you do, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But, you know, we could have bought John Duran and same could have happened to him. Like, it could have, it is what it is.
So true,
to blame anyone at the club for the whole Fulkrug situation is a little bit silly.
No.
And
I think he was more digging out fans saying that Antonio's the issue, and it's like,
yeah, but Antonio isn't the
that
issue.
is the problem.
It is a problem that he's always the only player that we have to rely on.
Yeah, exactly. That is the problem.
And I thought he wasn't as impactful as he was against Ipswich as he was against Tottenham. I thought he was pretty quiet. He had one or two good moments. But yeah, the back. I mean, I disagree with the comment about Kilman. I think Kilman is worth every single penny. The 40 million quid we paid for him. Unbelievable centre back.
Yeah,
Tadebo's coming good. Probably wanted him to do a little bit more against Son for their fourth, because he was tracking back a little bit. But at the same time, Son's done about nine step overs and completely bamboozled him.
And he's so zippy, isn't he?
He's so quick. If Tadebo does put a foot out, the likelihood is he goes down.
Exactly, mate. Yeah.
And players like Son, you got to just fart near him and they fall over anyway. So it would.
Like, his footwork's so quick. Like he does the step overs and just zips the ball in. Like, it's in the flesh. It is impressive to watch.
He's good, but yeah, the back four as it is, I like. But you're right. It's the midfield. No, I thought Rodriguez had one of his better games. He covered the defence when they were coming down on the left wing in that first half.
Yeah,
he covered that defence with those slide tackles and blocks quite well. But in possession, I've said from day dot, he's good on the ball, but just out of possession, just kind of he goes missing. The same with Paqueta. Paqueta in possession at the moment. Lastly, my last point, Paqueta needs to be dropped. I think it's very obvious, very, very obvious that what's happening off the pitch with him is affecting him.
Yeah.
He came out in the week with another statement. It's affecting him massively, and he needs to be out of that team. He needs to have a break. And if
Yeah.
that, it won't be now. Now Kudus has been is suspended for the next 3 games. It probably won't happen. But he needs to come out of that team. Just give him a rest. Take him out of the squad for a little while and just go, mate, get your head right. Because it's not working.
No.
There was a foul in the build-up, foul on him in the build-up to their first, but just gives in the build-up to their second, he gave the ball way too easily in midfield.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to do fancy flicks and it's just pointless, mate.
Yeah.
But I will end on the fact that I enjoyed Kudus taking out Van der Ven. Disappointed Van der Ven. Looks like a big old boy that can handle himself, but went down way too easily.
Yeah, after he's pushed him in the chest. Yeah.
Yeah, Richard. I mean, to be fair, he had a point because Kudus did kick him a couple of times when he was on the floor.
Yeah.
And then which I was very happy about. Good luck to him. And then Richarlison runs into the back of him, falls over. Another player that you could fart near and he'd fall over.
Yeah.
But then
ran into him with his face.
Yeah, fair play to Pap Sardo. Took one like a man. I mean, he took the push to the face like a proper man should. Didn't go down like his other 2 teammates. And I enjoyed it. Annie McCoist in commentary said, no, just tell him to behave and then just tell him to carry on. I didn't really agree with the red card.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, Ali. But I enjoyed it. It was, despite losing it for 3 games, it was a highlight for me because I felt like doing the very same as Kudus by the end of that game, to be fair.
Yeah. Fair enough. Right, Jonesy, that's about it then, I think. I don't really think we need to go through it. We don't need to put ourselves through it again. We sort of mentioned Areola. Perhaps, it's the first time this season I've sort of, a couple of people mentioned, I think, what was the goal that went through his legs? Was it Chelsea?
Maybe. His distribution was terrible yesterday.
Yeah, mate, that is a problem, yeah. I mean, look, the thing is, he made a world-class save before any of the 2 mistakes. One of the deflections, it was an outstanding stop. And then he sort of lets himself down with a couple of them later on.
They gave him the own goal. It was definitely a Todibo own goal, but the Premier League had given it to him. But it was a freak own goal. Areola saved it. It's then bounced off. It's ricocheted off Todibo. Like of all the 4 goals, that was the one where I was like, well, that's a little bit unfair. But not good enough for me either. No,
not really good enough from anyone, really. Unfortunately, did see it coming. Didn't see it coming in quite that nature. And it's all sort of all the more disappointing that we went 1-0 up. God knows what's going to happen from here. I hope, James Jones, that you don't have to spend too much time this week getting all the splinters out your backside from the fence you've been sitting on all afternoon or morning even about Julen Lopetegui. Thanks so much to everyone who got in touch on socials after the game. We asked for some reaction and I was glad to be able to give some airtime to all of those. If we didn't read it out, many apologies, but do keep getting in touch. We replied to a few as well on socials as well as reading them out. So make sure you're following us at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. We are West Ham Pod on Instagram. You can email us if you want at wearewesthampod@gmail.com. Just get in touch on any of the socials. You can buy us a pint if you want at buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham. But James Jones probably should have introduced this in the introduction. We are launching our subscription service finally. It's been a bit more of a headache than we anticipated. And James, am I correct in saying that this week, are we doing a trial run this week, or can people actually sign up if they want?
It's a trial run. We still need to be confirmed that we're all above board by Apple. So it's a trial run.
We're a legitimate outfit.
Yeah, essentially, we have to submit a certain thing this week with our show to prove that we're a legitimate outfit.
Okay,
so if it's not active this week, it will be active from after this show. So if you did subscribe, you wouldn't get the benefits that a subscription will cost until the following week this week. Okay. But we are launching it this week at some point.
Cool. Yeah. So to save confusion, if people are thinking, because as we've said already, we launched a subscription service just to sort of keep, we put a lot of time and effort and stuff into this. We sort of don't really, it's not going to be a huge sum at all, but there are costs attached to a podcast endeavor. So we want to make sure that's, none of that's coming out of mine and James's pocket, basically. So we'll be launching that this week. James, just to save any confusion and faff, then should we just wait and tell people not to bother until next week?
No, you can go ahead and subscribe if you want. Just know that you might not be able to with this show. It depends how long it takes for Apple to give us the green light. But essentially, we're putting in the official application. I just don't know how long it will take. So it might appear immediately that you can subscribe on Apple, or it might appear later on this week. So yeah, if you do see it, by all means, go for it if you fancy it. But yeah, we will be in full operation from next week. Touch wood.
Wonderful stuff. Right, thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you follow us on social, subscribe to the YouTube channel, of course, as always. Thanks to everyone who got in touch on social media. Thank you to all of you for listening, downloading, watching on YouTube, whatever it is you do. As always, I'll normally say keep the faith, but I think my faith is ever diminishing. A 4-1 defeat away at Tottenham is always going to be hard to swallow for as long as I live. Thanks for listening, everyone. Up the Hammers. We'll be back, James, with an opposition view later this week ahead of that game against Blimey. James, we haven't even spoken about the fact that we've got Manchester United next Sunday. Man United at home. We'll have an opposition view this week. Thanks for listening, everyone. Up the Hammers, and we'll speak to you later this week.